Hello, my name is Keith Haswell and I'm a professional astrologer with 40 years experience in the business now and over 30,000 clients worldwide. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this particular video on moving beyond control. Now, I've only explained a lot about myself because that's not important, okay? The thing that is important is your growth and development. I've got 150 YouTube videos out there now, so the chances are that you've already seen one of those and you know a little bit about where I'm coming from. Professional astrologer and teacher of metaphysics, and that's enough said. I'm here to be of service to you, to help you to understand more about yourself and the complexities of life. So just sit back and relax and enjoy the journey here with me. Control may be a term that seems a bit foreign to you because the concept of control is not widely used in psychological terminology or in social terminology. So perhaps a little bit of an explanation might be in order about the setting in which I use this terminology, control. We are all actually very familiar with the impact that control has in our lives. The most common reference to it in the colloquialisms of our social intercourse is a control freak. Actually, we all use control methodologies to get our way in life. From the time as an infant in our high chair, as we know that mummy will magically appear if we scream or shout or cry or wail, we expand on that prowess to get our own way as we progress into childhood, adolescence, young adulthood and adulthood. By this time, however, we have generally replaced the word control with the terminology manipulation, domination and control, as it seems to sound a little bit better and softer in its connotation there. Nevertheless, by the time we arrive at our adulthood in our 30s and 40s, we are quite adept at manipulating and controlling other people to get our way in life, with a variety of techniques from domination, manipulation from a position of strength and power and domination over, or manipulation from a position of weakness, self-pity, martyr. Self-pity, no one knows the trouble I've seen. To martyr, I've sacrificed my whole life for you, and what thanks do I get? I felt totally unappreciated. Then, of course, there is manipulation through making someone feel guilty. Yes, we are all really experts when it comes to controlling the reactions and the responses of others in our lives. Upon your growth and change and evolution, each of you in your own way has had a journey that is fraught with confrontation and fraught with encounter with control. And your spiritual path, no matter how well seasoned or new to the spiritual path, with its very personal highs and lows, peaks and troughs, far too often gets bogged down in the mire of control. But then you are aware, already very aware, of the threat that control brings. Whether it comes as an entangling thread, whether it comes as a dangerous liaison, a dangerous encounter or confrontation, you are very aware of the damage it can do. You are very aware of the success that it can sabotage, of the hopes it can dash, and the dreams that it can destroy. Yes, you are aware of the threat of control. You understand and you are aware that it fosters the denials and the discountings, the defences and the distractions, that it bolsters your reluctance, your resistance and your refusals. Yes, you are aware of control. Beyond awareness, you are also very much aware and understand a great deal about the nature of control. You understand that it fuels your very control mechanisms, the patterns and the behaviours and the very essence of control itself, as it fuels the self-pity and the martyr that you so frequently find yourself involved in and through, that it fuels the justifications, the rationalizations, and that it fuels the very manipulations and the judgments that so distort and twist you and distort and twist the reality you create, that so devastatingly twist and distort and hurt you and those who share your reality. Further, you understand that even as control fosters these things, so your pity and your martyr, so the justifications and the rationalizations, often called nobilizations that you try to convince yourself with, fuel the desire to control. Control fuels them and they fuel control. You come to understand that in time, control becomes self-perpetuating. It becomes self-sustaining. In many ways, it doesn't even need you anymore. Beyond what you understand, you also know the tyranny of control. Whether or not you fully admit it or face it, somewhere deep inside of you, you do know the tyranny of control. Many of you feel the shame of control and of being controlled. You feel the sorrow of a love that got denied. Many of you live in the crazy-making frustration of success that got denied and of successes lost. Many of you know too well the grief of love lost and love denied. Amid of what you are aware of, amid what you understand, amid all the knowing, you have tried to stop yourself. You have tried to end control, to stop its patterns, to stop its behaviours, to stop doing it, to try to stop others who are doing it to you to stop doing it. Yes, you have tried, you have grown, you have changed, you have evolved. And many of the patterns and many of the behaviours that used to be errant, that used to be deeply entrenched, that used to be so overt, many of them have been eliminated. That is true. The very nature of your control has changed as you have evolved. But through it all, even though the form of control has been abandoned and modified from function to essence, nevertheless, control is still in your life. Even as you have tried to end it, even as you have tried to stop it, you have failed. You have failed at your attempts to overcome control. But you are not failures. You are not a failure. You try to have a stern talk to yourself. Control doesn't work. I must give it up. Control doesn't work. Control doesn't work. The problem is that control does work. Every one of you has been steamrolled by someone controlling you through their intimidation, through their manipulation. They have terrified you. They have frightened you. They have twisted your arm in some way. Each of you also knows, even though it's difficult to admit, that you have done it yourself. You have tried to use guilt. You have tried to use domination. You have tried to use intimidation. And you have ultimately been successful and proven to yourself that control does work. Others of you have used the opposite polarity and controlled from a position of weakness. You have even had it used by others upon you with their whine of self-pity and their whine of martyr, until finally, rolling your eyes, you give in to what they want. You know that you have in turn used these techniques to get your way many times. Now, admittedly, the more spiritual you become, the more you realize that there are more elegant ways to determine an outcome of a series of events than control. Control in this instance becomes a nemesis, that is true, but you cannot fully convince yourself that the quality of your creations is more important than the quantity. You try admonishment and discipline to control your controlling behaviour with tighter and tighter controls of your thought processes, but the problem is that control is very chameleon-like. You control it in one form and it pops up in another fashion. Control changes, but it doesn't end. You resort to, I'm going to bite the bullet technique, where you set up a certain number of rules and regulations to control your controlling behaviour. The problem is that it's difficult to remember all the bloody rules. Back to the drawing board, you ask yourself, how am I going to control this thing? How am I going to ever give this thing up when everybody around me is using control on me? You resolve that you only have two choices: to control or be controlled. You realize now that control has control over you. I have not ended it, I have become it. Back to the drawing board one more time, often to throw yourself at the mercy of your future self, your higher self, your soul and spirit, and God, Goddess, all that is. I've tried so hard to give up control, only to fall short. Maybe if I whine loudly enough and persistently enough, even my future self, my higher self, my soul and spirit, and God and the Goddess herself will finally say, yes, you get to hold on to control. Maybe I can control them with my whining. You finally say to them, rocks are hard, water's wet, and control is the way of the world. Maybe in a future world I'll be able to give up control, but until then I'm only human and I must use control. You have failed, but you are not failures. You are not failures. According to your pattern, according to your growth and your change, these forays down the various alleyways of control were an important part of your growth. Many of you know more about ending control than you know about the nature of control itself. But it was all part of your process of growth. It is part of a process that got you from there to here. Now you are ready more than ever, now that you are watching this video, to bust free from the suffocating influence of control. Some of you had to go down many avenues of control in order to get to the point where you could finally bust free from control. You are now ready to bust free, not only from the patterns of control, but you are ready to bust free from the need to control. You are now ready more than ever to bust free, and once you bust free of the need to control, to move into the beautiful mystery and the enchanting unknown that lies beyond control. Is there a world beyond control? Yes, busting free, busting free. Throughout my teachings, by video and by CDs, I talk many times about a new paradigm. That paradigm is you create your own reality. All designed to help you more and more how to be conscious of creating your own reality. Not that you have to be totally conscious right now, but instead suggesting to become more conscious, piece by piece, bite by bite. Certainly understanding that you are not in a position to totally understand that you create it all, and to be fully conscious of that truth, but you are in a place to realize that you do create it, and to learn to be more conscious of that truth. With a little bite here, chewing it, swallowing it, digesting it, being nurtured, being changed by it. Then another bite and another bite. I have never encouraged you to take the concept you create your own reality and try to swallow it all in one bite. It could catch in your throat and give you a terrible dose of indigestion. I have always said, take a little bite, become a little more conscious, and a little more and a little more. My understanding has taken 40 years to integrate, and I did not really start teaching in earnest until I wrote my 2 books 15 years ago and 10 years ago. You too must become a little more conscious and a little more conscious of the fact that you create your own reality. Some of you begin by watching 30 or 40 of my videos before you start on my CDs, and that's perfectly okay. In time, your consciousness will evolve beyond the point that you create your own reality, to move into a paradigm, into a reality that is beyond you create your own reality. And you don't need to work just with my teachings in order to grow. Some of you choose to, but there are many avenues of growth. But whatever your path in this metamorphosis, in this kind of change that is new, it is necessary to loose the blindfold, to burst the dam, to end the need to control, so that you can find the avenues, the pathways, the gateways to a new way of changing, a new way of growing, a new way of being, so that you can find the secrets about a depth of self that you have not to this point in time let yourself discover, so that all that you have learned can fit into place in a way that is amazing and astounds, and at which you can marvel. I want to point you in the direction of that change that will free you from the need to control, so that you can create a world that is first an oasis where you don't need to control, but as more and more of you bust free from control, to be like lights popping up in a world filled with darkness. As more and more of you create an oasis and pop, 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 pop all over the world, become a light for others to find their way beyond control. To be a light to a world becoming new. Control is a part of your biology. So what you have to do to be free from the need to control is to change your biology. Your biology, speaking from a spiritual angle, does not include your physical body. It is not regarded spiritually as a principle that can be changed. To change your biology, you must first start with your energy body or your etheric body. Once you start a daily meditation routine, even if only for 5 minutes daily, your etheric centers begin to function in a new way, in a new rhythm. Your focus begins to change from the objective world to the subjective world gradually. It begins to raise the resonance of the centers that deal with your physicality and your sexuality, the center at the base of the spine and the sacral center. As you continue your studies with me, especially with my scientifically designed CDs, your emotional body begins to change to a higher resonance. As your emotions are transformed from fear, anxiety, worry, anger, etc., to inner peace, calm, expansion and love, so your mental body, your conscious mind, your habitual thinking processes begin to change to a higher order. Through this process, over a period of time, you are gradually transforming your etheric body, your emotional body, and your mental body. Now, this methodology is what's called the bottom-up methodology, okay? Where you transform through meditative practices and right living your etheric body, through right emotional activities and right feelings, you change and transform your emotional body, and through right thinking, you change and transform over a period of time your mental body. That's the bottom-up method. But my recommendation to you is the top-down method. You see, these 3 centers that I'm talking about here are the center at the base of the spine, and the sacral center, and the solar plexus center, and the center in the throat. They are your 3 personality expressions. But you have also soul. And the soul is higher mind or synthetic understanding, abstract thinking. Your soul is also intuition, and your soul is spiritual will. So it's time to work from the top down by aligning yourself with your soul. And the way to do that is by expanding that higher mind. Expanding that higher mind through my videos, and you watch them over and over and over and over again, and through listening to my scientifically developed CDs with their meditations, scientifically designed meditations that work to transform your thinking processes, and gradually your higher mind, your abstract thinking, gets expanded, and that's an aspect of your soul that is expanding. And after a period of time, your intuition is forced into activity by that expansion of your higher mind. And so as the intuition starts to become activated, you start to know about these things more so than just believing in these things. And then you start to develop your spiritual will, which is the highest aspect of your soul. So working from the top down, from your soul, higher mind, intuition and spiritual will, working on that level is a top-down methodologies whereby over a period of time the etheric centers are brought into alignment with soul purpose. Your emotions are transformed over a period of time into that of understanding and forgiveness and kindness and sympathy and tolerance and patience and trust and devotion and idealism, and your mental body is transformed into the right way of thinking and powerful thinking to create your reality. That's the way that I recommend, is the top-down methodology, and that's what my CDs and my videos are designed to help you to do. So it's nice to have this opportunity to be able to talk with you. What I suggest now is that you subscribe to my videos, go to my website and start downloading the free CDs from the free CD page of my website. And there's also the page there on YouTube videos. You can watch all of my videos there, the latest ones, the latest 40 or 50 are there for you to be able to watch them. And gradually over a period of time you transform your consciousness and you go beyond you create your own reality by working in a co-creating partnership with your future self, your higher self, with your soul and spirit, and with God, Goddess, all that is, and many others who are there in the higher dimensions who've moved beyond the human level altogether, who are working through you to help you become more of who you really are. So it's nice to have this opportunity to be able to talk with you. Get your horoscope number 2 done by me. For only $10 you get a beautiful 20-page printout, but you also get the free horoscope number 1 thrown in at the same time in the bargain. And that tells you about your next 30 months, moon cycles and progress planetary cycles. All there designed to help you become more of who you really are, and to know how you can use these cycles and these events and conditions in your future to be able to become more of who you really are. You are much more than you give yourself credit for. So it's nice to have this opportunity to be able to talk with you, and eventually to get horoscope number 3 done, where I can talk to you and tell you how beautiful that you really are. So nice to talk with you. I look forward to working further with you should you decide to go further. Thank you.